So right now what I'm working on is I'm trying to refine the essence. I've come up with a practicality system, which the system in itself, the original name, the original intention was to find the essence of practicality. From the system I derived the essential of the system, the essence of the system. The system, I call it summary and essence of system, or something like that. And then from all of this, from the system, after I created the system, I also came up with meta notes. I made a document called meta notes where I take notes on the notes. So on the meta notes, I came up with different things. The unknown protocol, which is supposed to be more essential. So I came up with the system, the essence of the system, unknown protocol, and I keep coming up with other things that do not fit in the system, so I have to put them somewhere else. I put them in the meta notes because they are before the system. They are more fundamental than the system. And now I'm trying to get all of these things, I'm trying to gather all the meta notes and gather an even deeper essence, an even simpler essence, an even simpler element. And the way that I'm doing that is that I'm collecting all of these. I'm using something that I called Shadows of Higher Dimensions, or that's the reference title. Shadows of Higher Dimensions, How to Seek Principles. So I guess I should write that. I should also include that one. Although that's also under a rudimentary action. So I'm trying to find that element, that one element from which everything springs forth, from which all of practicality springs forth. And it seems to be the rudimentary action in learning, along with unknown protocol. I'm not even sure if Oblivion Protocol, which is necessary to practice unknown protocol. Oblivion Protocol, unknown protocol. Oblivion Protocol is necessary to practice unknown protocol, but Oblivion Protocol is not anymore. I think unknown protocol is more essential than Oblivion Protocol, because you can only discover Oblivion Protocol by using unknown protocol and rudimentary action. Maybe rudimentary action is at the top, and Oblivion and unknown are productions from that. So yeah, I'm just trying to think about that. The other problem that I'm having is that I noticed that all the elements in the system of practicality and all the elements, they overlap in some stages, and I'm just trying to figure out what the shape is. I don't know how long this is going to take, but for me to figure out what the shape is, I need to use Shadows of Higher Dimensions, which is basically another kind of like a sub-aspect of rudimentary action. Yeah. Yes. So I need to look for that shape. That means I have to like keep the whole system in mind. I have to like this is hard. The reason why this is difficult is because it takes a lot of thinking, simply put. But you have to behold so many ideas and concepts in your mind at the same time, all together at the same time, so that you can have the whole, in your working mind, there's only a limited number of slots. And basically I'm just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, thinking, putting, like, I think of these, and while I'm trying to think of these, I lose these, and while I'm trying to think of these, I lose these, and I'm just doing this, until my memory gets this picture. And then when it gets this picture, what I'm describing right now, it's a process akin to that can be described by shadows of higher dimensions. Once it gets this picture, then it makes a whole. Then you have one thing in your working memory. So you do some of this, right? You do some of this, then the memory will make this shape, and then you have one whole. And now that it's only one whole, you see the unity of it. So now it only takes up one slot in the working memory. Yes. That's a description of how shadows of higher dimensions work. So that's what I'm doing.
Volition is in there, dude. You need volition in order to act.
You need volition in order to act. You cannot have a practicality system because practicality involves action. And you cannot, it involves autonomy, it involves agency, and you cannot have agency without volition. The way that I've discovered this is that I'm focusing on rudimentary action and how it works. And rudimentary action, when I imagine it, it just feels like observation and learning. That's fine. But it doesn't. So I'm trying to figure out what the next step is. How do you get from rudimentary action and learning to the rest of the system? If that is really the most fundamental, I'm trying to connect it with everything else. So I'm exploring different feelings here, different concepts. I behold rudimentary action, and I go through the list, seeing what makes sense under it. And I noticed you have rudimentary action. You need volition in order to act. So that's part of the essential right there. You cannot even perform a rudimentary action if there is no agency for you to perform. Is volition really that essential? Huh. I'll probably go back to my list. I mean, the way this seems is I'll probably go back to my list. I'll probably rearrange the list, the system. The order of the system. Because, I mean, the original assumption was that everything was included in the system and nothing else was necessary. So, as I'm rediscovering it, it's probably going to be a rearrangement of the same system. I don't know. But anyways, rudimentary action, that involves awareness. It involves awareness. And memory, which is also awareness. And connections, which is also awareness. Causal connections. And then volition. Rudimentary awareness. Awareness. Causal connections. Relative connections, not causal. Rudimentary action. Connections. What does it mean by connections? By connections I mean shadows of higher dimensions. You're able to put together the dynamics to make a bigger shape. Awareness, yes. Shadows of higher dimensions as consolidating ideas and volition. And I think all of this is even more essential than unknown protocol. Because you cannot perform unknown protocol unless you have these things. Crazy. Whew. Imagine if there was a person born without these assumptions. Just be kind of a robot, a zombie. Crazy. I guess that's how babies are born. That's why a lot of times they don't even know they're alive.
Rudimentary, what the fuck?
It seems like all the anchors, essence, system, rudimentary action, shadows of higher dimensions. Oh, this is a unknown protocol. It seems they're all just descriptions of each other. So as I'm redefining them here, what's coming about is that really is I'm just kind of like fitting all these things and all these different angles, you know. There's rudimentary action from this angle, there's unknown protocol from this angle, there's a system and the system essence, and I'm bringing them all together to kind of form this more wholesome essence of practicality, it seems. But I'll keep analyzing the way I've been doing. I'll ignore that idea for now, and I'll keep analyzing the way I've been doing to see if it really turns out to be that. I don't want to stop exploring one road just because I found the shortcut to another. Relation, connection, that's all here. Shadows of higher dimensions. Most essential. Most essential. The relation and connection of ideas. You observe different things and you put them together. It's very important for knowledge. You cannot act if you don't have knowledge, because you don't have, if you don't have knowledge, then you don't have a world to act in, and you don't even have a will to act through if you don't know that you have a will. Awareness, that's why awareness is foundational. But you can't just be aware of different sensations. You have to put them together in a way that is meaningful. I'll use that word casually. You have to put them together in a way that the dynamics match, and that you can consolidate these ideas into something higher, something more functional. So, and what's necessary for that? So this is something that's very essential. Rudimentary action, awareness, shadows of higher dimensions. Those are most fundamental, because it's the ability to think of one idea and another idea at the same time. That requires memory, awareness through time. That is the essence of practicality. That is most fundamental to practicality. At least to be able to behold at least two ideas at the same time, so you can compare them, contrast them, connect them, and once you connect them, you have a consolidation. And then you can take that consolidation and compare with another idea. Behold them at the same time, compare them, contrast them, figure out the relation. And at least two, you need at least two. So you need at least two slots in your working memory. If you had one slot in the working memory, you wouldn't be able to figure things out. So, what's necessary for practicality? What's the essence of practicality? Awareness, but also the ability of connecting two ideas. At least two ideas. Then, with that, hopefully you discover volition. And then once you have volition, once you have a sense of autonomy, then you need to have a goal. So that implies enjoyment. You know, because enjoyment is something that you seek, and therefore you need a goal. Or that's what you need. You need to, in order to seek, you need a goal to seek after. And then I guess belief. Belief in the possibility of attaining the goal, which is in the essence. So I'm coming up with another list just as I anticipated. But belief in attainment of the goal, that's also part of enjoyment. It's called, I forgot what it's called. Natural attainment. Yeah. And that's how you know that my system is comprehensive, because all the new ideas that I'm coming up with, they're already included in the system. They're coming from the system. That's really good. So what I'm doing now, what I'm focusing on right now is, or what's going through my head right now is, rudimentary action seems to be the most fundamental. So I'm holding that in mind while I'm going through the rest of the ideas, seeing what connects and how it connects. So I'm rudimentary action is one idea, and I'm comparing it with everything else. Everything else that I think is essential. Summary in essence. Here's what I found out. Summary in essence of the system. Even that. Even rudimentary action is even more essential than that. Which is pre-step cognizing the idea. You can't cognize the idea if you don't know what an idea is. So first you have to pay attention to it. And the only way to know what an idea is to observe a sensation and add the attribute of idea-ness to it. So you have to deem it. Deeming. I think deeming comes after rudimentary action. But you can't deem without volition. Can you? You can't discover volition without deeming. Where does deem go? Is deeming more essential than volition, or is volition? No. I think deeming is more essential, but you do it in kind of in a spontaneous manner, without your will or awareness of your agency. You can't deem without volition, and you can't have volition without you deeming your volition into yourself. And you can't deem because deeming is an action that flows from you. I think ultimately these elements are already supposed to be inherent to an identity. These mental functions are supposed to be inherent to an identity. You can't create them yourself. You can't adopt them yourself, because if you don't have a self, you can't find them. And if you can't find them, then you cannot find yourself. I'll have to think about that, but right now demon and volition go side by side. I think demon is more essential because it happens spontaneously. Just like the sensations you observe in rudimentary action, they happen spontaneously. If there is no life, then there is nothing to observe, and there's nothing to learn. So first there needs to be spontaneous life from some outside source. Then there needs to be deeming. Deeming allows you to compare and contrast ideas. And then you'll come across volition. You'll deem a self, and you'll deem a will, a capability, and put those together and you have volition. So deeming is more essential than deeming is more essential than shadows of higher dimensions. Because without deeming you can't even have the shadows. Crazy. Deeming is volition. No. Deeming without volition first. Then volition. Then after volition, deeming does not happen spontaneously, but you can control it more. But the only way you do that is through the rudimentary action, noticing that you have volition and that you have control over it. Volition, for all purposes, could very well be just an illusion. There is no agency, and this just happens the way it happens. It's crazy, man.